Hi, it's Elrina from Physio and Wellness. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about nutrition, particularly as it pertains to healing after an injury. Now that could be a sports injury, it could be a delivery, or some other trauma that you might have had. The three main components I'm going to cover today is your protein, your fiber, and your water, and then we'll have a brief touch on some supplements that you can take. So first of all, protein is of the utmost importance when you're healing because your body needs protein to actually make new cells. So if you are lacking in protein or not getting at least 100 grams a day post-injury, or depending on your weight, between 1.2 and 1.6 grams per kilogram of your body weight, you will struggle to actually heal up. And your body might then take protein from your other cells, which leaves you lacking in muscle mass, which is important as we get older or as we are healing. So you're aiming for 100 grams of protein a day as a minimum, particularly for women and for women going through perimenopause as well, and for women postnatally. But for all of us after a sports injury or after a surgery, this is important. And it can even go higher than that depending on where your weight is. Now, what does 100 grams of protein look like? A chicken breast is going to give you about 20 grams. A steak will give you about 22 grams. A cup of lentils will give you about 17 grams. An egg, about 8 grams. So that gives you an idea that it's pretty difficult to get 100 grams incidentally. You kind of have to aim for it. And the aim that I like to look at is if you are having 5 touches of food a day, that you have 20 grams per meal or per touch of food. Or if you're aiming for 25 grams per meal, then you just need to get another 25 grams in your snacks. Now, one of the easiest ways to get that is to make sure that you supplement with a protein shake. I prefer the vegan ones because I don't like using whey or dairy, but whatever suits your body is great. And then if you have a protein shake, you can put that on your oats in the morning, or maybe just the scoops of the protein into your porridge oats in the morning. You can have a protein bar at some point in the day instead of a chocolate bar, or instead of sweets or whatever as part of your snacks. And then just making sure that you've got that whole chicken breast fillet or a couple of thighs, adding in maybe some beans or chickpeas into a salad for lunch, and a good solid amount of protein at dinner as well. And tofu is absolutely fantastic to add into things. So if you're doing a stir fry with chicken or beef or pork, just add in some tofu. Silken tofu just stirs right in and basically melts away. And the firmer tofu you can just marinate, so it has a bit of flavor, and you can add that in because it's high in protein, it's super healthy, and it can just bulk things up. It doesn't really have a taste unless you add it to it. So that's your protein. So you're aiming for 100 grams a day. And then we are looking at fiber. So if you have any issues with constipation or healing, again, fiber is important because it helps your body eliminate toxins. So you have two kind of fiber. One is soluble fiber and the other is insoluble fiber. So your soluble fiber dissolves and ferments and feeds the bugs in your gut. So it's good to take a probiotic, but those bugs need something to eat, and then that's where we need the prebiotic food. So these are the foods that ferment in the gut. So it's important to have that soluble fiber. Then you also need insoluble fiber, which will bulk up the stool and ease transition, but that's also what will then drag toxins out of the body so you can eliminate them. So what does that look like? You want to be having maybe a couple of tablespoons of flax seeds in your oats and some berries or fruit. That'll give you about 15 grams. You want to be getting some fruit and veg during the day, and I think if you're aiming for about 10 servings a day, more vegetable than fruit, you probably will reach a target of 30 grams of each of those types of fiber. Looking at maybe a jacket potato and some beans, that'll give you about 15 grams. Maybe a whole wheat sandwich will give you about 10 grams. What else can I think of? If you have a lentil stew with beans and peas and so on, that'll give you about 15 to 20 grams. So you can see, trying to aim for that 30 grams of each a day is, again, you've got to make a concerted effort. It's not going to happen by accident. Then last but not least is water, because first of all, water is fundamental for health. If we don't have water, you're not going to be alive for very long. So that's really important. But then how much water? And there's such a controversy as to how much water is enough. But if you're aiming for about 2 liters a day, you'll be okay. You probably want to make sure that you're drinking that incrementally through the day, which I love the incremental water bottles that kind of give you a countdown through the day if you're a goal-driven kind of person like myself. But otherwise, just making sure you're sipping. Don't just have a pint in the morning, a pint at lunch, and a pint at dinner. Your body doesn't really know what to do with that. So you'll have a pint and you just go to a loo and it'll just come right out. And especially if you're dehydrated, if you think of a dry pot plant, that water just pours straight through. But if you were to take the same amount of water into that dry pot plant and just do a little bit during the day, it will hold onto the water, and our bodies are no different to that. So you want to make sure that you're giving your body water as it needs it, so that you can actually utilize the water rather than getting, one big flush of water and it just pours right out of you. So especially if you're having problems with incontinence or problems with bladder urgency and frequency, it is very important to get that water, how you drink your water, first of all, but also then how much of it, because if you're constipated, then if you're not having enough water, that's not going to help. And water is also linked a lot to fatigue and issues with mood. So if you make sure that you're getting enough water, your energy levels will be higher and therefore your mood will be better as well. And then I'm just going to briefly touch on some supplements. Depending on what I've seen you for, I might have recommended a kind of alphabet supplements, A, B, C, D. My main thing here for healing would be C, because it is a pro-collagen, so it helps with collagen formation. You can take pretty much up to bowel tolerance. So if you start with 1,000, see what your bowel does. You can try 1,500, see if you get a runny tummy. 2,000, see if you get a runny tummy, particularly if you're a little bit run down, or if you're coming down with a cold, you might want to go up even more than that. And you'll find if your tummy starts getting grumbly, that's probably enough. And then you can back off. Because it's water soluble, your body will just get rid of it. Vitamin D is an oil soluble supplement, and most of us will be depleted through the winter months. But even in summer, if we're not having a good summer with loads of sunshine and you're going out there always covered in sunblock, you're not going to be making your own vitamin D. So you probably want to have a little bit of exposure to the sun, about 20 minutes a day, so you get a little bit of redness on the skin in the summer months, so you can make enough vitamin D to store. But in the winter months, making sure you supplement. I supplement all year long because my skin's too sensitive to be in the sun for any length of time. So I take 2,500. That's kind of a standard. And in the winter months, going up to either 4,000, 5,000. Now, because it's oil soluble, you can just take a bulk. You can take like 20,000 on a Sunday and then think about it for the rest of the week. Or if it's part of your routine, just take, your 2,500 to 5,000 a day. So depending on what your levels are, really good for immunity. And lots of autoimmune diseases have been linked to a lack of vitamin D. So making sure you're getting enough of it. Have your doctor check your levels. If it's below 70, make sure you build it up to above 70. And once you're there, you can do a maintenance dose of like 2,500 international units. Vitamin B linked to mood and energy levels. So if you find yourself quite tired and run down, make sure you're getting a good complex vitamin B supplement as well, because that will just help to help your mood. And it's really the first vitamin depleted by stress as well. So if you're finding you're in a stressful period, actually vitamin C is also important because it depletes quite quickly. So vitamin C, vitamin B for stress, depression, anxiety, fatigue, any of those things, just to help build you back up. Now, if you've had a particular injury, I might have asked you or suggested some collagen for you. When you're looking at collagen supplements, make sure you're getting a minimum of about 5 to 8 grams a day of a marine hydrolyzed collagen. So that's the one that's best absorbed by the human body. A soluble one, or one that's already dissolved, tends to be the best absorbed ones. And that in conjunction with vitamin C, I find is quite a good combination to help heal up any scarring, any injuries, whether they are from a sport injury, postnatal, old injuries that you might have that need to be healed up. So that's it for nutrition. I hope that makes sense. Any questions, just ping me a text or an email.